A city's creative identity is shaped by its artists, craftspeople, and designers, who also have an important role to play. They continue our age-old urge to create and to make things by hand. And in an age of mass production, work made by hand may be more important than ever. My name is John Baker. My wife Julie and I own a design store and exhibition space in Toronto. We believe that well-designed, beautifully crafted items have the power to enhance our everyday lives. In this series, I'm going to meet some of the people whose handcrafted production is shaping this city of makers. Alissa Coe is a ceramicist who works mainly in porcelain. Alissa had early success as part of the design collective Coe & Wado, whose aim was to produce elegant homeware in small batch production. Alissa now concentrates on her own commercial and sculptural work. I went to her studio to find out more.
I know you have quite a range to what you do, but for people that don't know, could you describe a little bit about the pieces you make?
I've done some sculptural installation work for hotels. I guess my favorite one is here in Toronto at the Four Seasons. It is a hanging sculptural piece. It's dandelion seed fluffs. They're hanging above the reception desk. They're 4 feet in diameter. It has porcelain and wooden components that were then assembled on site.
So you've done some collaborations in the past.
Yes.
Can you show some examples?
This is a collaboration with you. This is the Sikaburuka coffee pot. It's a very specific vision by Luca Nicaro. That was made with slip casting. So slip casting is when you make an object with liquid clay instead of solid clay.
This is the process you would use for industrial work. Mm-hmm. Things you have to make multiples of.
Mm-hmm. You make a model and you make a mold of it from plaster. You fill the plaster mold with liquid clay, let it sit for a predetermined amount of time. In that time, the water is being absorbed into the plaster mold, and then when that time is passed, you pour it out and you're left with a shell.
Yeah.
And that shell is your object. It's super magical.
Even though it's slip cast, I don't think people would understand how much time you spend with your hands on an object that looks so pristine. All of the lines are actually done by hand. And I was like, oh, okay, that's all well and good, it's difficult. But until I actually saw what you have to do to get lines done, especially on the cup, which has just an incredible amount of perfect lines, there's a lot of hand process. Mm-hmm. I never realized just how much of you is in the work.
Yeah, it's that hand finishing that really makes a piece special, I think.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now.
Oh, I'm working on some sculptures for a commission for a hotel in Asia. These are based roughly on the essence of wood and the fluid form of a growing plant. So these are 2 pieces out of 6.
Forests and nature, these are kind of recurring themes.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to try to recreate nature, but I am deeply inspired by it. So the best thing that I could do is somehow, if I could manage to capture the essence of a natural object, I would feel happy,
Yeah. For me, it's kind of like, it's this material in between wood and stone and bone. It's like all these kind of natural elements, mm-hmm. but it's because of the material, the unglazed porcelain, that kind of makes me think of something like coral.
What I love about it is I've been thinking a lot about this idea of working intuitively, and I think it's the first time that I've ever made anything without a drawing first.
Wow.
The porcelain guides you.
And after these 6 are done, where do you want to go from here? Is there something in your mind that you've been kind of...
Yes, well, I've been thinking about vessels a lot lately, and it's something that I just feel is like this deeply human thing. Vessels have been a part of human life for basically as long as humans have been around. So this is a vase. It's made by rolling coils of porcelain and
That's like the oldest pot making technique.
Exactly. Joining them and joining them and joining them and building up the form, and then carving to give it its surface texture. And what it's inspired by is Carl Blossfeldt, who did an incredible collection of botanical photography, focusing on the sculptural elements of forms in nature. And so this is a seed pod form, but translated with all of the other things that I have in my mind. Really intuitive and really fulfilling.
Yeah, incredible. How would you describe the scene here for craftspeople?
It's a beautiful community of super amazing people. I'm really excited to be part of it. But I think that it's hard because that appreciation from the public is still pretty limited.
Yeah.
And the craftspeople that I know who are doing really well do larger scale commissions. I do know some who still slug away at craft shows and stuff like that, and I just feel like, and I'm generalizing, but it's not a sophisticated venue or format for showcasing really fine, elegant work. And
well, craft can be a derogatory term.
I think it is. I think it is in Canada. And I remember early on, I didn't really want to be associated with craft because I felt like I've always been really confused about what that means. I mean, I think we're trying to take it back. Yeah.
That's why we have to use the word craft over and over and over, because the thing about craft is once it's really good, people want to define it as art immediately because they want to disassociate it with what it is, which is craft. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It does exist in that place in between art and design. I think it's the best part of both of those worlds.
It's kind of the most intimate.
Yeah, and it's often one person making an object that then goes to one person. There's passion and principle and the joy of making. It's what it's all about. It's why everyone keeps doing it, even though we're not millionaires, you know?
No, but it's the joy of making and using.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well put. I think it's a good note to end on. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.